Underdog is the leading place to make all your sports picks, and you can play now in your state. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog, and it's easy. All you have to do is download the app and choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats. You can choose strikeouts, total bases, or home runs, or go higher or lower on three-pointers or rebounds. You can play with as little as $1. If you get everything right, you could win up to 1,000 times your money. This week, I'm looking at baseball, and as usual, Aaron Judge is my choice to go higher on the stats that involve his hitting. Download the Underdog app or go to UnderdogFantasy.com and sign up with promo code GARAGE to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code GARAGE. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncp.gambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
Bowie, Dylan, Marley. You've heard the names and maybe you've heard their songs, but what about the stories behind the records that made titans of music like these so universally loved and important? Join me, Josh Adam Myers, host of The 500, as each week I go through a different album from Rolling Stone magazine's 500 Greatest Albums list from 2012 with an incredible lineup of comedians, actors, and musicians, talking about how the music has impacted their lives. New episodes of The 500 come out every Wednesday. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
This is the Weekly Scramble, a place where we chat about life over a cold one or two. It's time to belly up to the pod with Mike Fratelloni and your host, Chris Reavers.
That's right. It's time for the Weekly Scramble podcast. My name is Chris Reavers, and with me, as always, his name is Mike Fratelloni. Hello, Michael.
How you doing, Reavers?
I'm okay. I'm doing well. We're nearing the end of the week, and then thus kicking off the Memorial Day weekend festivities, which I always love. It's one of my favorite weekends of the year, the unofficial, official kickoff to summer.
Sure.
So I'm super excited for that. But I do have to start things on a bit of a down note because you had declared something the other day on this show in regards to the current sitting president. But
I did.
We touched on this a little bit in the Garage Logic podcast, but of course I have to bring this up with you because you had quite the meltdown the other day, which I was very proud of you for. But the United States has officially accepted a Boeing 747 luxury jetliner as a gift from the Qatari government, and the Air Force has been tasked with upgrading it to be used as a new plane for President Trump, according to an Air Force spokesperson. The spokesperson, who spoke on the condition of anonymity as they were not authorized to speak publicly about it for the matter, told NPR that the Air Force is currently preparing to award a contract to modify a Boeing 747 aircraft for an executive airlift, saying further details about the contract are classified. The plane, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, is a gift that Trump said he would be stupid to turn down, suggested that it could be converted quickly to be ready for use as a presidential aircraft. However, experts warn that no matter how luxurious the plane is, it would take years to rework it to meet the current standards set for Air Force One. Democratic lawmakers and independent watchdogs say the gift violates the Constitution's foreign emolument clause. The White House said that the plane was a gift to the Department of Defense and would go through the legal protocols required when something is given to the government. Trump has said that he would not use it after leaving office and wants to keep it in his presidential library at that point.
What a liar.
There are currently 2 Boeing 747 planes being customized to become the next generation of Air Force One. Trump announced a $3.9 billion deal with Boeing during his first term for the project. The planes were supposed to be ready by last year, but the project has been marred by setbacks, and now the customized aircraft aren't expected for several more years. Some of that is due to poor execution, but some of that is just due to the huge amount of requirements and work needed to take a commercial jet and wire it up, said a member of the Air Force. Michael, I know you had a bit of a tirade.
I'm frustrated.
I can see that on your face, and so I'm going to yield my balance of time.
Thank you. So a couple of things that I find interesting about this. Trump says, President Trump, I'll try to be respectful, although I'm losing respect for him. but I'm going to try to be respectful. He says, it will be ready in a very short time. Nothing in aircraft aviation of changing a plane around and making it a hardened plane and making it acceptable for the president and all the reworks that it's going to do happen fast on planes. I hope that he never gets to fly on it one time. I hope he gets to accept it and he thinks he's going to get this $500 million jet that he's going to be able to use. And I hope it never comes to fruition for him because he is stealing from the American government. It is absolutely disgusting that he thinks he can accept this gift from the Qatari government. It's absolutely disgusting. I cannot believe that anybody would support this. I see what he's doing. He wants the jet. He doesn't care what people say. He wants it. If we are dumb enough to let Trump take this jet, use it one time, we're losers. America are losers. And if we're dumb enough, after he's out of office, and we put it in his presidential library to sit stagnant because it can't be flown, I'm not letting anybody fly it. Not me, not letting anybody, but right. Americans shouldn't let anybody fly it. If it sits there and it's a wasted $400, $500, $600 million plane, whatever it turns out to be after we harden it, then we are the biggest idiots, and he is the biggest a-hole I have ever seen. I like much of what Donald Trump does. I'm a centrist when it comes to government policy, right? We're common sense, middle of the road guys. Some of what he does is I like. Some of what the other side does, I like. But if he truly accepts this and we let him fly on this thing one time, what a loser. He is just bought and paid for. At least he got more than Biden screwed the government for. Right? Congratulations. The government screwed the government out of $400 million instead of $13 million that Burisma gave Joe Biden's kid.
Well, the thing that adds to this story is the fact that there are just so many layers to this one individual story, meaning that, okay, well, this thing might not even be ready to go by the time
I hope to God
his term is over with. Okay, that's point number one, because this thing has to be gutted down to the studs, essentially, for security purposes alone. But number two, the thing that I find fascinating is that the Qatari government, and Joe brought this up, and I was desperately trying to find the story. In fact, that he had printed it off, and I wish I would have grabbed it from him. Mm-hmm. But apparently the Qatari government have been trying for a couple of years to sell this thing.
Sure.
Because nobody wanted it.
It's too decadent.
So apparently they were just saying, well, we got to do something with this. What should we do? And that's when they decided, okay, let's just at least attempt to gift this plane to President Trump.
And they were under the impression that they might get it back. Here's what I really want. You ready?
Perfect world.
I want someone to go take the measurements of one AOC to find out her head to butt to foot measurements,
okay,
so they can build her the perfect chair. So in 2028, when she runs for president and that thing finally comes to America, that's her plane. And Trump never gets on it, not one time. If we let him fly that thing, we are stupid. We are stupid. You cannot accept bribes and totally they weren't lying about it, right? It wasn't hidden behind the thing. He said, hey, it's a $400 million gift. I'd be stupid to not take it, is what he said. He's stupid to take it because it makes him look like a complete, you can buy him for $400 million, right? And whatever else you got from it. And I think we should fit that only for the next president and never let Donald Trump or his family sit on it, walk on it, look on it, touch it, make any decisions about it. That is so despicable, criminal, and disgusting. We can't bitch about the other side if our side says, we don't care, we'll accept a $400 million gift. You're too petty and little to do anything about it.
That's the thing, I guess, that's really striking to me about this is the fact that you campaigned on this idea that you were for the people.
For the people.
That's the part that's been so frustrating about this entire thing. That says, Don, you can't accept a gift of that. You can't do
government corruption. We gotta drain the swamp. Let's drain the swamp while we're flying in our $400 million gift from Qatari. Bullshit.
Well, that's the thing that's frustrating because it's like, again, you ran on a campaign of not only government transparency, but the fact that you were going to bring Elon Musk into the mix to basically get rid of all of this government spending and government corruption. And that's what your mission statement was. And that's why you got voted into office, because people, many people in this country, some who are hardened to the right, but some who are very much in the center of all of this, had said, I'm tired of being lied to, and I'm tired of living the DEI style of corrupt policies. I want something different. And then to do this, not even 6 months into your
slap in our face.
Into the first year of your second presidential term is laughable.
It's a disgusting slap in our face. I think if he would have said, hey, American people, we have a chance to get this Boeing maybe fairly cheap. They'll give us a little discount. They've been trying to get rid of it. It's a beautiful plane. Our Air Force One is 46 years old. What we're using as Air Force One right now is 46 years old or whatever it is. Let's get this thing for a few $100 million. Who wants to put some money into this? And I think Americans would step up and say, hey, let's throw some money into this. Let's get the president a plane that he deserves,
right,
and the next president a plane that they deserve. I do believe the president should have a nice plane, right? I think Air Force One is probably a nice plane. It's old. We need to upgrade it. I get that. And what's going to be fun about this is Trump's not going to be able to fly. If I can do anything about it with our little simple podcast, which I know I can't do anything, but if I can do anything about it, he'll never fly once on this Qatari jet. And then by the time the other Boeing jets come out, where the new Air Force One comes out, the new Boeing super jet that they're going to make, he'll never get a chance to ride on that. And he'll never get to touch either of them.
So let me ask you this, because I know the other reason I wanted to bring up this story, because A, I knew you'd have a nice tirade again, but B, and more importantly to me anyway, is I know you are such an aviation nerd. I know you listen to aviation podcasts. You love everything about it, which is why I wanted to bring this up with you. What is the difference? Because we know, like, the what do we call the vehicle? Is it called the tank? What's the car that the president would ride?
Sure, I think the tank. Yeah.
But whatever it is,
Beast.
The Beast.
Yeah.
Thank you. The Beast is roughly like what, 50 times heavier than every other vehicle that's on the road, just because of how much it has to be armored and things like that. Does the same thing apply? Do you know to the Air Force One, or
it has to have all the avionics? Has to be impenetrable to other things. I mean, it has to have some war potential making, right? You have to be able to defend yourself just in case. I don't know if it has any of that, but I'm sure there's stuff we don't even know that it has. I assume Boeing didn't make the same jet for the Qataris, so they'll have to go ahead and take it apart, rip it apart, check all the wiring, do everything, kind of rebuild the thing. I hope that takes 3 years. So Trump says, I missed that plane. I missed it. And then maybe the next president that has some ethics or some respect behind them says, give it back to the Qataris and say, sorry, we can't accept this. We're giving it back to you. Oh, by the way, we just put $400 million worth of upgrades into it. Right. But we can't accept it.
Because the other thing I found fascinating, because we dived into a little bit on GL today, was I didn't realize that just to paint a 747, just your run of the mill average paint job, like, you take it to Schoonovers, right, to get it done, right? The average paint job alone averages between $175,000 to $300,000 just for the freaking paint job of a normal 747.
I bet you it's way more expensive. Where did you hear that stat?
I just looked it up online.
I bet you anything it's way, way, way more than that.
Okay.
A little tiny
Are you
plane,
talking about for Air Force One or for a 747?
Any 747.
Really?
Because you got to remember, paint's heavy, right? So you got to get all the old paint off. You have to prep the surface, have mechanics come in and make sure the surface isn't degraded anywhere or compromised.
Yep.
Repainted. I bet you it's hundreds of thousands of dollars more. You may be right, maybe, but nothing in aviation's $300,000. You can't even get your propeller checked on a little Cessna for less than $5,000. I mean, it's a crazy expensive thing, right?
Really?
Yeah. So it's going to be millions and millions. I bet you anything, the $400 million that we're going to get this plane for free, it's going to cost another $400 million to get it ready that President Trump could fly on it. He better not fly on that. That's
actually what Joe said. Is he basically said, okay, yeah, this plane was gifted to the United States government. However, it's going to cost us how much more just to get it ready for a president to be able to travel in it than it was worth being gifted in the first place, which is, again, why the Qatari government was most likely just trying to get rid of the damn thing.
Yeah, I mean, no one needs that jet. And it seems like someone very opulent would need that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so who are you going to sell a $400 million jet to? I've seen videos of it, right? Because it's been up online.
Tiger Woods.
I don't think he's not wealthy enough.
Old Tiger. Old Tiger would have outfitted that thing out to go to every Waffle House in the country.
Like, let's stop at a Chili's and pick up some chicks and head back. We were just talking about that. A friend of mine and I were talking about that, and he was like, "It's so disgusting that Tiger was just such a deviant, and Marv Albert was such a deviant." And I said, "Shut up." You've never had the ability to walk into an IHOP and have 50 of the women in the IHOP say, whatever you want to do, I'm ready for. Yeah. We've never had that, right? So you can't judge a guy by, I'll give you a perfect example.
I can too.
I was in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Oh, I love that city.
Do you?
I do.
And I met a woman who had 12 breasts. Sounds weird, doesn't it?
It does.
Sounds weird, doesn't it? A woman with 12 breasts. See how I worked that joke in to the Tiger Woods story? Sounds good. Doesn't it?
You are truly remarkable.
God, I'm finding these jokes, and I know they're gold. That's why our podcast, Reavers, that's why our podcast is like getting right up to GL.
Oh, for sure.
Because the people that listen to this podcast said, Mike's got another good one-line joke. I know he does.
Let's talk about our friends at North American Banking Company who have one simple philosophy, and that's this. It's banking done differently. And you get that feeling anytime you walk in any one of their 6 Twin Cities locations. It doesn't matter if you're in Roseville, 50th and France, Hastings, Woodbury, Shoreview, or Maple Grove. They offer all of the same online and mobile banking options as the other banks, but the key difference is you are going to get the unparalleled service of a community bank. And here's the deal. If you've been thinking about it for some time, why not put your home's equity to work and maybe create that new plan inside the home, whether it's a renovation project, either at the home or the cabin, an unexpected expense, or anything. A home equity line of credit from North American Banking Company is going to give you flexible access to funds when you need them most. Like I said, whether it's that home project at the cabin or anything else, their experts make it easy. And the thing about North American Banking Company is this. They offer all of the services as the other big national banks. Whether you're looking to buy a home or get that new car that you've been thinking about, they are going to be able to help you out. So your first step today is to check them out online. It's nabankco.com to learn more. It's banking done differently. North American Banking Company, member FDIC, is an equal housing lender. The Weekly Scramble. We'll be right back. I got a great email in regards to our visit with our buddy Bartley Bloom and Bent Brew Distillery. It comes to us from our buddy Downing. He says, it's been interesting to hear Bartley's story over the past decade. I met Bartley about a dozen years ago at a charity golf event at the Hastings Country Club. I should mention, too, Bent Brew Distillery. Bartley announced on our show on Tuesday that they are going to cease operation after this weekend.
After this Saturday.
After this Saturday. Thank you very much. Bartley's going to retire, and the new owners are going to figure out what they're going to do with the building and whatnot. So I forgot to mention that the preface of this email. So he said, I got to meet him at the Hastings Country Club. He was talking about his plan to start a distillery. I didn't think too much of it at the time because a lot of people talk big about a lot of things, but they never do anything about it. Bartley did it. But what I really remembered is he had a very cool car, maybe my favorite, a late 1960s Camaro convertible. I was very jealous. Yep. And let me tell you, Downing, Everyone knows
that car.
That's Bartley's car because it sat out in front of the brew distillery.
You know he's working if it's sitting outside.
Exactly. You do. Oh, yep, he's there. Oh, it's 5:30 in the morning. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
He's there working. Wait, it's 2:00 in the morning. He's still there working. Anyway, so
that's a cool story. Bartley definitely is the type of person. If he says he's going to do something,
oh man,
he does it.
Well, and what's neat too is I don't think I mentioned this during the segment we had him on, but I remember we did a Garage Logic event because they were buying time with the beer shop because before Bartley opened his doors, he was an advertiser for 1500. Sure. And so we tied in a group outing. I think we took fans out for dinner at Hoyt's or something.
Okay.
I think it was Hoyt's. But before that, we took them to Bent Brew Distillery.
Really?
And we were there. It was not open to the public yet, but Bartley was brewing beer there.
Sure.
And he walked us around, and it was very, very cool. And I remember the people that we were there with said, well, this is neat. I've never seen a brewery like in person like this before, and one that's not even open to the public yet. But it was just neat. It was a cool time.
For some reason, I'm getting a little teary-eyed.
Why?
I mean, I'm not because I'm a man, but mentally, I'm getting teary-eyed because those were such good days, Reavers.
Oh yeah.
Remember when we started the beer show? We're coming up on our 12th anniversary or whatever in June.
Yep.
But it was just so fun. Every week we had a new beer, new brewer on.
It was cool.
They were all like rock stars because, we'd open a brewery. We sold our distributor contract for $3 million. It's like, you've only made 40 different beers.
Right.
And you're selling your contract for $3 million
Well,
already?
and you saw it too. I mean, we might as well go down memory lane with the beer show. And I didn't want to single out anybody individually, because we developed relationships with a lot of these different breweries that were both in this market and outside of this market. But I do remember that when you were on the forefront of it, right? When you were the Summits of the world, the Surleys of the world, you almost had an in because you were the ones that took a leap of faith, and you were the ones that got into those tap lines, and you were the ones that got on those shelves at those stores. And so because you were making a quality product like, Summit and Surly and some others, you already had an it shells. Like you already had an in the craft beer world. And so when the boom hit, in the late, or I should say in 2005 to 2020. So when you're on the forefront of that, you had an in, and that's why you're seeing those giant success stories like Surly and Summit and Shells and some others. But what was funny was if you're on the forefront and maybe your quality wasn't on par with some of those others that I met, you were still able to sell a lot of product, but at some point it was going to catch up with you because the quality of everybody else, it was gonna dilute what you were putting out as a product.
The cream will rise to the top,
and that's just it. And I remember one, and I'm not going to name them out. I'm not going to out them, but they were very upfront because they came on our show and said we had to make a better product. Because I think they temporarily closed their doors because they said this isn't good enough anymore. And I think part of it was they had just spread themselves too thin.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And they were in a lot of places that they probably shouldn't have. Not that they shouldn't have been, but they were more focused on putting out as much product as possible and not necessarily focusing on the actual quality of the product.
My favorite thing ever is you and I, we're Coors Lights guys, right? And some guy would say, it's a strawberry Goza that's based on a double IPA Bock that is made with
nodding.
And we're like, what the hell are you talking about? Does it taste like Coors Light or does it taste not like Coors Light? And none of them tasted like Coors Light, right? And I really loved it. So, little backstory for the people that are watching and listening. Reavers couldn't drink during the show.
No.
Right? So FCC regulations, because we were on the radio, he could not. So I can, because I was like your sidekick who's not like
you're not an employee,
team,
right?
I was just the sidekick. And then all the others, we had this green room and people would get hammered in the green room to kind of get their nerves covered and then come in and some of them were getting glassy-eyed. I was like, oh, no. Like, we would have to say to them, no more. Like, you have to either stop.
Well, I'll even go a step further in that regard, and that's when the sales team came up to me and said, hey, you guys are doing great.
Great. We were one of the most successul shows on ESPN 1500.
We were, and they said, this is going so well. We're going to convert this to a 2-hour show instead of 1 hour. And I went, uh-oh. I went, well, here's the problem with that. Oh. So instead of going, I think we were, 7 to 8, and then they said, we're going to go 7 to 9.
Sure.
And, they made it worth our while, which is great, which is what you want to do in this business. And I said,
they made me volunteer for 2 hours.
Right. And I said, well, here might be a problem with that. The green room already gets a little excited / celebratory in 1 hour. In 2 hours, we may have a problem on our hands.
Yeah,
because
it was fun, but all the sales guys would come.
Yep.
All like other people from other departments would start heading to the green room.
It's Thursday again.
I have such fond memories. Sometimes we would have multiple brewers on, and there'd be maybe 10 of us total, and there'd be equivalent of 150 beers.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's too much. Like, you can open all those and we can all have a sip of them, but that's even too much.
And speaking of that, one of those guests was our buddy John Leinenkugel. Did you see the news regarding the state fair? I believe it surfaced this morning, apparently. And I found this.
Don't say they're getting rid of the Liney Lodge. Don't say it. Are you kidding me?
So I found this stunning. Both the Liney Lodge and the Shell's Band Shell, both of those companies have decided they are not going to renew their naming rights for those particular which I found stunning because, Mike, how many miles have you and I walked the state fair over the past 15 years, right?
Yes, to get to the Liney Lodge.
That would always be one, and I love going down to the Shell's band stage as well. Yeah. And I thought, well, that's like saying you're getting rid of the lift chair.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like the Sky Ride. That's become a staple at the fair.
I'm going to look into the camera on this one.
Oh, boy, this means he's getting serious,
all of
ladies
the
and
listeners that are listening right now, if you could each send us a check for $1,000, then we can name the Liney's Lodge the Weekly Scramble Podcast Lodge.
Oh, boy.
Maybe get a totally different beer, but I'd keep Liney's because I love Liney's.
Yeah.
and then we can name it. All we need is 10,000 people with $1,000 a piece. That doesn't sound that bad.
That's what they were paying for
No, I mean,
rights?
but it's expensive for it's got to be $100,000 a year, and we'd want a multiple year contract. We don't want to be one and done.
Right.
Reverse. This show is for the long haul.
That's true. That's
right?
true.
If this show isn't, what is?
But I also thought it made me go bigger picture on it, because I know obviously it had to have been feasible for both Shells and Liney's to do that, right?
Sure.
Because otherwise they're not interested in throwing money away.
No, not at all.
So it was either worth it from, okay, they were going to sell an S-load of beer at the state fair, obviously, but also you're getting constant mentions in the news, and you're getting constant photos on social media. And I mean, my God, I remember
millions of impressions.
100%.
Yeah.
And so you're thinking, okay, you can't probably calculate or quantify a lot of it. And I know also that, especially with Leinenkugels, and John's been up, like they're under new management now. The family sold the operation, and
Years
I know
ago.
they've had issues because of the Chippewa Falls closure, and there's been a lot of that. So maybe it's just the new owners have said, well, this is a dumb waste of money, and they don't really get why it's important for Liney's to have a presence at the Great Minnesota Get
or
Together.
they're winding the brand down.
Or maybe that's it too, and that would really bum me out, because that was honestly my first craft beer. I mean, and I'm using
Sure.
but that was my was Liney's and Shells. I mean, those were the two go-to craft beers.
Yeah, because you love your Oktoberfest.
I do love my
right? Shells
Oktoberfest.
makes an incredible Oktoberfest.
Yeah, they do.
They really do. Yeah, it makes me not a crier. I'm not going to cry. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to do it. But it does give me that little thing in the back of my throat. Bartley closing, Liney's Lodge going away.
These are all buddies of ours.
They're all buddies of ours. And the industry was fun, and I enjoyed it. And it's a great place for people to go out and meet people, right?
Right.
And now everyone's just getting high at home on their 5 milligram gummies or whatever they're eating.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I recall, I don't remember what year it was, but it was a couple of years ago, and I remember a bunch of us from the station. I can't remember if you were with us or not, but we went up to the Liney's Lodge. It was obviously later at night, because Boys to Men was perform. I mean, come on here.
Yeah.
I mean, 90s Reavers was saying, I don't care how far I have to walk.
Sure.
I don't care how long it takes us. I don't care if I have to Uber all the way home from the state fair and miss the Hubbard shuttle. I am going to see Boys to Men at the Liney Lodge.
Did they sing End of the Road? Is that
Oh
one?
yeah.
Oh yeah. Classic.
And on Bended Knee. Come on.
okay, yes,
If
yeah.
you were in high school in the 90s, I mean,
You
my
were
God,
throwing your underwear
that's
up on
just
stage.
100%.
Yes.
But I'll never forget. So when you walk up the hill, basically running parallel underneath the Sky Ride, you could not get up to where the Liney's.
Because Boys to Men was such a big draw.
Because there were so many people there, so you literally had to find a way to meander through the crowd just to find 2 feet of space to stand. Like,
I was going to say, that's a pretty big band for a free concert.
Well, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt.
Because the guy before was playing like, we got Jimmy, he's going to play the spoons.
Right.
To
Exactly.
classic hee-haw songs.
Yeah, so that was kind of a bummer when I saw that story this morning. And of course, we talked about it earlier today. But I just thought, man, that's got to be just a kick in the teeth, because then you'd think, okay, what brand or what outlet or entity? I guess, yes, Surly could probably occupy that spot, but are they even going to want to do it?
No, you know what it's going to be? It's going to be the meme coin, Coinbase wallet, Coinbase wallet
But
concert hall.
aren't there certain rules where, because I know,
So it has to be Minnesota.
I don't know, but I'm wondering, because there's so many different rules and regulations that the
Sure.
state fair has imposed
Well,
upon.
let's think of one. Think of one.
But to the point where, I don't know if you knew this, you're not allowed to have stickers at the Minnesota State Fair.
Yeah, or gum.
The
Can't
gum?
give away gum.
Oh, you can't give away gum.
stickers.
I'm sorry. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
you can't, because they don't want people sticking stickers.
Right, all over the place.
Chewing gum.
That was my favorite thing, though. We had just became a podcast, and Joe had basically bought like 10,000 GL
stickers?
podcast stickers, and he
Yeah.
was going to hand them at the fair, and that lasted about 3 minutes, and someone came up and
no.
said, you can't do that here. So we had stickers for like the next 2.5 years.
I have a good idea for that. Here's what we can do. So my buddy graduated from STA, St. Thomas Academy, right?
Yep.
I'm going to blow this. It was either 1984 or 1985.
All right.
He has coasters made that say St. Thomas, STA, class of 1984, best year in the history. Like, it's this propaganda for his year.
Sure.
And his year happened to have a bunch of studs come out of that school that year. Really successful guys.
All right.
Every bar this guy goes into, he's 57 years old now or whatever. Every single year, he's older than that, every single day he goes out to eat, he brings those with him. And that's the coaster he uses at the bar. GL coasters, those little paper coasters, people would keep a GL coaster forever inside their house. They would use it while they're drinking. In their garage, they'd have GL coasters. People would love those. They have to be 25 cents a piece. I don't know. They have to be cheap, right?
That's not bad.
We could do GL on one side,
and
the weekly scramble on the other.
You are brilliant.
And you can give those away at the fair because they don't stick to anything. It's not bad.
That's not a bad idea.
They have to be cheap. You were in the bar business, right? You would get those.
Oh, yeah.
You'd get a 2,000 sleeve of 2,000 of them. They can't be very expensive.
Every single vendor that you had would say, hey, you can also have these to give them away. And,
sure.
and then you'd go through an entire sleeve of those a night, and then they'd be gone. But it was brilliant marketing.
People 100% would love a coaster from GL and the Weekly Scramble.
Really smart.
I say GL like no one would ever want one from the Weekly Scramble.
But it's good.
I mean, my parents would.
It's good co-marketing.
Yeah,
it's very.
that's right. We could
even
call it?
Co-op marketing, whatever it's called.
Dual marketing.
Dual
maybe.
marketing.
We could do that. Maybe work the Krabby Coffee Shop in there. Maybe TD Mishke could do something.
Sure.
We could have all the brands in there.
I like that idea a lot.
That's not a bad idea at all.
That's not a bad idea at all.
I like that. I like where I'm going with that.
Well, that's because you're very smart, Michael.
There you go. Thank you.
His name is Mike Fratelloni. My name is Chris Reavers. You are listening to the Weekly Scramble, and we will be right back. So you really did look up the price of coasters during the break?
Yeah, a few cents a piece.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, we can actually do that. That is something we can 100% do.
We will get our team on it for
I love
sure.
it.
One of the things I mentioned on the show on Tuesday, I have to bring this up because it has one of those, as you can relate, one of those great, okay, this is a great dad moment, right?
Oh, okay.
So I got an email from Paul. We were talking about the fact that I had to go get my son a prepaid Visa gift card because he was going to Target Field yesterday with the rest of his 7th grade class from Jordan Middle School.
You can't hand him cash because it doesn't work
They don't
anymore.
take cash at Target Field, so I had to run and get him a gift, which is totally fine, right? So Paul writes in, no money at Target Field. I haven't been to Target Field for years, but we are going to my wife's school's night this year. Thanks for the warning that they don't take cash. Back in the day, when we were getting our kids through private school, I worked concessions at XL Energy Center and Target Field for tuition. Money handling at XL was much better than at Target Field, and I hated when I was the money guy at Target Field, and once I was the inventory guy and the money guy at Target
you're
Field.
like, no thanks, I don't want to do that.
I'm out.
That's way too much pressure for volunteering.
Anyway, when you emptied out your tills, you counted all the money. Real fun if you were in a portable. Filled out the deposit form and walked the money down to the bowels of Target Field and waited for a teller to take your money and recount it and then give you a receipt. Then you took it back up to the inventory guy to reconcile inventory with receipts. If you didn't sell beer, you made virtually nothing at Target Field. Made better money at XL, plus parking was cheaper in St. Paul. Glad those days are over, Paul. Well, thanks for the email, Paul. You'll love this. So my son, I said, buddy, here's the deal. Because, you know, it's not normal price food and stuff.
Yeah,
I said, I have $30 on this card.
Sure.
That's all you get. That's all you got.
It's a hot dog and a Coke, maybe.
You can't go over the line. It's $30. And, I showed him, okay, it's a prepaid thing, so you got to swipe it, or whoever the cashier is will most likely help you out with this, okay? I go, but you got to be careful, because if you have $31 or whatever of stuff, it ain't going to get accepted. And he's really good with math, and he's a very responsible kid. He really
He's not
is.
special. He understands.
Right. Yeah. He gets the system. So I get home yesterday.
Oh, no.
And I see a little note, because I had to work late yesterday because I'm trying to get a bunch of stuff done before the holiday weekend. And so I probably walked in the door at like 7:30, 7:40, something like that yesterday. And the crew was sitting down having a little dinner and watching whatever they were watching. And I see on the dining room table that there was a note with William's handwriting. And I kind of looked and I flipped it over, and it's got chicken strips, $6.50.
Oh my God!
French fries, $1.70.
Oh, how cute is that?
But no, it gets better.
Okay,
I asked him about it.
Yes,
and he said, "Well, yeah." So he's, it's him and his 5 buddies, right? So it's him, Henry, JT, Max, Andy, the crew of these are going to be the 6 kids that are going to hang out forever
for
right?
a long time.
They're all going to get each other into trouble, and they're all going to try to say, "No, we were at your house. Remember? Tell your mom we were at your house."
We were at your house.
But they're all great kids. I've coached all of them throughout the year. They're all awesome kids, and so those 6 idiots were standing at the concession stand writing down what they could get. And so he goes, and then he crossed out one thing because he wanted to add peanut M&Ms, right?
Oh, good.
So he
for
said,
him.
"No, my dad said there's only $30 in here, so I got to make sure I do this all correctly."
That's
so,
really good.
what was the total bill? Glad you asked. $29.75.
Are you kidding me?
Not kidding at all.
Oh, so he did the math, a total reverse. Because not everybody knows that you were a schooled accountant. That's what
Yep.
you went to school.
I did.
Like
Yep.
you were great at math and doing that.
Yep.
Radio math is totally different, so don't make fun of him. Radio math is super hard. So he's like, your genes were like, I'm going to figure out how to do this to maximize my value of this $30 card.
Because he knew he was most likely only going to get one transaction on the card,
that
right?
was it. Yeah.
And so
you were going to whip that right out of his hand.
I can't even imagine seeing whoever the cashier, the volunteer cashier was at this concession stand. But yeah, it was like chicken strips and French fries, and then I got to get a Dr. Pepper, and then I got to get peanut because of course we don't let him drink soda at home, but he's out with his buddies. What
he's
he's going to
buying
get?
whatever he wants.
Right? Oh,
He's also thinking, man, beer's expensive. You know the reason why I'm so skinny, right?
Why?
Because I would have gotten that $30 card. And I would have walked up to the first girl and said, "What can I buy you, dear?" And then she would have bought $33 worth of stuff.
Right.
So I would have had to clean up later on.
Somebody give me $3.
Yeah, someone give me $3. And I would have been like, and she would, "Aren't you going to get anything?" No, I've been working out, babe. Don't worry about it. It's just all for you. Well, that's the way I roll.
I told him too. I said, don't waste money on tchotchke crap that you can, because his bedroom already looks like a sports equipment goods store.
You don't need any
everywhere.
more stuff.
You
don't need that plastic Twins hat.
Yeah, that's what you get when I'm with you.
Sure,
because you're going to say, "Dad, can I get it?" Well, of course I'm going to get it.
You got to get something there,
right? But it was very. So when I saw that, it made me chuckle. And I immediately thought of you.
That's a really cute story.
I got to write this down. I got to
figure
it. And of course, he gave me the card because I told him. I said, "Hey, just so you know, if there's like $1 or $2 left on here, we can use it when we go on our little road trip."
Sure.
And and I can then pay off whatever is left. And so of course he put it back on my little area where all my stuff is. So he put it back with 25 whole cents.
Yeah, he didn't say to you, "Just go ahead and spend that wherever you want, Dad."
That's for
that
you,
25.
Dad.
Like that's just my aunt Lori works at the Twins, right? So she retired last year, and she said she loves the Twins, so she's going to go work at the stadium. It's a pretty good system. They have a specialty lot that they park in, right?
Yep.
They have to pay for parking, which is unique, but it's like $8, and then they get you over to the stadium, and it sounds pretty safe. So she gets there, and they said, "Congratulations, you get to be in the elevator for the whole game." She's like, "Wait, what?"
Oh, God.
So she sits there, and the worst part is she has a little bit of vertigo, and she's like, "I don't want to ride up and down an elevator all game long."
I would quit on the spot.
And she's a dedicated person, so she
Sure.
can't. But she's she actually has grown to kind of like it because she said the people are so nice, right? Everyone who gets in the elevators super nice. So she's having these great conversations with people, and people are getting to know who she is because they're always going to the suites or whatever. But I thought, if you're going to get that retirement job at the stadium, like you very well would, a guy like you,
I'm going to go into that, but go ahead, finish your story.
you would totally do that. You want to at least be able to see or hear the game live, or if there's a crack at the bat, you can turn around and look to see what's happening, I assume.
Yeah. So two things on that. So last year, we were down in Arizona for spring training, and I was just chatting it up because I know you'll find this shocking.
Yeah.
I just chat up random people at random baseball games, and I thought I could 100% live because I think we were at the Brewer Spring Training Complex, which I think I'm willing to be corrected. I think it's in Peoria, but I can't remember exactly.
I'll believe you.
But I thought I could absolutely envision being this guy for a couple of weeks and then doing the shuttle bus from whatever.
Yeah.
I would 100% do that in my retirement years, and I would love every second of it.
Sure.
But the other thing was we were at the Padres regular season game, so this is probably 3 or 4 years ago. And I ran into Mike Pomerantz. I don't know if you remember who Mike is.
Remind me.
Mike used to be the KARE 11 anchor a number of years ago, right? Well, I can't remember if he was let go by KARE 11 or if he got the job as he has become not the Corey Provis, but the in-game studio host for Padres baseball.
Oh, great.
So Mike has a baseball background. He actually was a minor league pitcher for the Twins.
Okay.
And I think it's his nephew is Drew Pomerantz, who still is in Major League Baseball. Anyway, but Mike's an awesome guy.
Sure.
And so I saw him at the and I 100% did this. So this is, like I said, 4 years ago. So my boys were a little bit younger. And the four of us were walking through the concourse. And you know how they're set up at a ball game, right? So it's the the host, the former player, and the babe, right? And they're all sitting on at the round table, ready to break down Padres and Diamondbacks coming up live on Padres Live. You know, they're doing one of that thing, and so of course they've got the Rubes in the background, like waving and whatever. And I didn't do any of that. I just did this, and I stared at him.
Oh,
and
no!
From like the side where he couldn't see me, but he could tell someone was glaring at him from about 6 feet away. and Jess goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm just getting his attention." She didn't know that I knew who that was,
okay.
right?
All right.
And so she's like, "No, let's just go sit." And then of course I get the voice, "Dad, let's just go sit down." I go, "Well, just go sit down. I'm just going to stand here.
Keep staring at this
so
guy."
Then of course, you know, they like, "Okay, well, what's Dad up to?" Right? And I'm just staring and I'm staring and I'm staring. Even during the break, didn't say anything. And finally he's like, "Oh my God, like, what?" He goes, "Oh God, it's Reavers."
That's too funny.
It was really, really funny. So then he kind of like, he's like, "I'm coming back, but just don't go anywhere," right?
Yeah.
So the next break, he came down and said hi. It couldn't have been nicer.
Oh, that's cool.
He's a great dude. He's a really, really good dude. But it was very funny.
You can sense when someone's staring at you. At least every person that I'm staring at says, "What are you doing, creeper?"
Well, and especially, think of like when we're at the fair, right? So you're doing, this is our like fifth state fair reference today, but you're doing the fair out there in the booth, like people are watching it, which is different than doing it here in the studio.
You know, people are staring.
But imagine like actually being someone that's visible in front of a vast audience like that. Like I couldn't do that job. I really couldn't. I don't.
Well, hopefully we will. Hopefully the frat pack shows up for the state fair.
Hordes of fans are showing up,
and people are just screaming, "Reavers, you're the best!" Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be pretty cool.
I think. Well, they are right. Reavers, you are the best. Thank you,
Michael. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Please do us a favor and rate and review the show wherever you happen to be listening to the Weekly Scramble podcast. It does help other people find the show, and it really, truly does help us out as well. And we really do appreciate you listening to the Weekly Scramble podcast. And please have a fun and safe and happy Memorial Day weekend. And please remember what this weekend is all about. His name is Mike Fredoloni. My name is Chris Reavers. Thank you so very much for tuning in. We will talk to you again next time. Again, have a safe Memorial Day weekend. Cheers. Time once again to check in with our guy, Mr. Money Talk. Josh Arnold is with us once again here in Garage Logic, and now is the time for you to do the same. So do not delay. Do exactly what I did and pick up that phone and dial 952-925-5608. That number once again is 952-925-5608. When you call that number, you're going to get Josh, and he is there for you for that free, yes, I use the word free, 48-minute financial consultation with absolutely zero obligation, and he will always give you the straight talk. He will never give you the sugar-coated advice, and he is on the line with us once again here in Garage Logic. And boy, Josh, I know you got a lot to get to today because another down day on the market, but interest rates are a concern. But is there some good news here on the horizon?
There's plenty of good news on the horizon, and we didn't want to be overly negative as we might have sounded yesterday. But every time that I talk about the impact of tariffs, that's all I can think of is a lot of negativity and unforced errors on the part of the administration in an effort either to get trade deals or the belief that by increasing tariffs, you can raise tax revenues for the United States without having adverse impact on businesses, business spending, consumers, and consumer spending. The belief that somebody else is going to pay that tariff, to me, is today and was before nonsensical. The tariff is paid by the business on who it is imposed on. And that business is going to pass that tariff along to consumers, whether they be individuals or business consumers. That is either going to increase prices, or if the corporations eat it, as has been suggested, that will reduce their margins, or the company will be forced to cut costs, which will hurt employees. So not a good overall situation. Now, I recognize that the use of tariffs has been used for a lot of years, and mostly it's to protect certain industries and allow them to build their business. But in every case, if you impose tariffs, then there's going to be a reciprocal tariff placed by the export markets. Today, Target reported their numbers. They missed on the top line and bottom line. They cut their guidance, and they indicated that they missed because of, we'll say, three reasons. First, tariffs. increase their costs. Second, they felt that consumer discretionary purchases were down. And lastly, they cited the impact on their business from the change they made in DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion policies within the company. And Target, as a result of changing those policies, definitely suffered boycotts from different groups over the last quarter. But I would look more at, we'll say, their business losing out more to other competitors than anything else. Not to mention some poor retail choices that they made over a year ago, which alienated another batch of customers. That said, the leaders in retail right now still been Walmart, Costco, Amazon, and in fashion, we can take a look at TJ Maxx, which beat again on the sales numbers. They kept their guidance, and the stock, after moving up, had a short retreat, and that probably gives investors an opportunity to take a look at, and if you're looking at retail, TJX, which owns the TJ Maxx stores, Marshalls, and several others. In this environment, TJX has definitely been a winner. Another winning retail stock, which has very limited exposure to tariffs, is, I'll say, my old friend eBay, which is finally approaching an all-time high, and it has, very little tariff exposure. Typically in good economies, you'll have more buyers. In less robust economies, you'll have more sellers. And eBay, being an online auction, has been a very slow, steady grower and is rewarded with a low price to sales multiple, a low PE, and it does have a small dividend. But this market environment, eBay, looks very interesting. On the other side, where there's a lot of volatility, and some of that volatility can be attributed to rising interest rates, you've got technology shares, which tend to fall as interest rates move up, but offer, at least in my mind, some of the best opportunities for longer-term growth. And artificial intelligence, which we have talked about more than once, is still a theme that has to be taken advantage of. I think it can be taken advantage of through some of the larger tech names, like favorites Apple and Amazon, also Google, which has a conference right now, Meta, and of course the chip companies like NVIDIA. And then there are companies that utilize artificial intelligence, including favorite Palantir, among others. Do be prepared that these companies are very volatile, and if you have difficulty dealing with the volatility, they may not be for you, but it is a theme that to me makes a lot of sense going forward.
And that's why we come to you for the straight talk, and we never get the sugar-coated advice, Mr. Money Talk. You heard him, GLers. Now is the time for you to pick up the phone and make the call for that free 48-minute financial consultation, just like I did, by dialing 952-925-5608. Mr. Money Talk, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks so much for the time and the chat. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Thank you.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC, a security investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice.
Chris Reavers is a paid endorsed